Frustrated as a Manchester United fan? Yes, of course. Is the current situation bleak as Yes, of course. But you know what? I'm sitting here slightly optimistic about the future. And in this video, I will talk to you about how short-term pain can actually lead to some long-term gain. And what has actually pushed United back, so far back in recent years. The first point I actually want to talk about is the ridiculous transfer fees and excessive wages that we've handed out to players over the last few years, players and clubs to be honest. No one really understands how far behind our old regime has pushed us and how close we are to a PSR breach, right? There's a lot of debt we still have to clear. And I'll talk to you about some examples in today's video. Let's take Casemiro's transfer for an example. We chased Frankie de Jong for months, and then did not end up signing him. We panicked a couple of weeks before the transfer deadline day and then went out to Real Madrid and said, we want Casemiro, we'll pay you as much as you want. And they quoted like a ridiculous transfer fee at that stage, 65 million. They knew we were desperate to get a central midfielder. And we happily agreed to paying Real Madrid 65 million and got him on board. Yes, he did have a great season under Ten Hag in his first year, but honestly, we've seen where that's kind of headed in the last 2 years. Now, what I ask you is, does it make sense to get someone who's 30 years old at that price, nearing the end of his career? Yes, it looked great in the first year, but honestly, if you do long-term planning, it does not add up, right? And Real Madrid just made a mockery of us. And that's a question we probably have to ask the old regime, why they kind of sanctioned that deal. It made absolutely no sense and it showed that there was no planning. It was just a panic buy to keep the manager happy. It's as simple as that. Let's take another example, Antony. Honestly, where do I start with that guy? One breakthrough season at Ajax. Yes, I agree. We were desperate for a right winger and okay, fine. We probably did not have many choices, but we decided to go and buy him. The only two drawbacks I have with this transfer is we didn't have a backup, right? It was pretty clear that Ten Hag was running the transfer show back then. We chased him all summer. There was a chance of getting him for about 50 million pounds at the beginning of the summer. I don't know why we didn't pursue it then if he was the primary target. We waited till transfer deadline day again, paid 90 million pounds for him. Ridiculous, right? We've seen where that kind of headed. Yes, he had a breakthrough season at Ajax. Absolutely, we should have signed him. But at least be smart about the signing. If he is your primary target and you want to put your money in, he was available for 40-50 million pounds at the beginning of the window. So what kind of stopped them from doing that? I guess they were just not smart enough or good enough to kind of manage two deals at the same time, which has been United's problem for years, right? And here's the nail in the coffin. After going out and paying these clubs exorbitant prices for these transfers, both Antony and Casemiro, we decided, you know what, let's give them a lot of money as well. Absolutely ruined the wage structure. Casemiro is the highest paid player at United and he's sitting on the bench right now and he has been for the last few months. He earns 350,000 pounds per week. Ridiculous, right? Like, I don't get it. You're just disbalancing everything. He earns more than Bruno Fernandes. Please explain that to me some way. I read another thing. Antony was earning about 20k per week at Ajax. He at United was earning 200k a week. What has kind of led the old regime to hand him out that contract? Yes, you want to double it, triple it, I understand. But from 20k a week to 200k a week, it does not make sense. Again, clear examples of inefficient management that has just ruined the club and put the club back for years. And it's not just transfer fees and the contracts we've given to new players coming in. Even contract extensions have had absolutely no maths. It doesn't add up, right? Marcus Rashford was given a new contract a couple of years back, rightfully so. He had a great season, scored 30 odd goals under Ten Hag and he deserves the new contract. But 325,000 pounds per week? That's ridiculous. Where again, you're just breaking the wage structure, which makes no sense to me. So my question here is, What was the old regime under Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold thinking when they did that? Because obviously now, when you're a Man United player, your entire biodata is out in the media. As much as you try to hide it, your weekly wage, where you live, what you're doing is out. It shows that it's the biggest club in the world, right? There's no way you can hide all of it. So when they kind of handed Rashford that contract out, what message were they trying to send to the rest of the squad? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about all of this. Let's talk about the next point, poor recruitment choices over the last few years. The first point I want to talk about, unfortunately, is Cristiano Ronaldo's return to Man United a couple of years back. As much as I loved that signing and most United fans around the world were just, drowning in happiness, and rightfully so was I feel like it pushed the recruitment back for the club. At that point of time, Ole had kind of built a solid front three of Rashford, Martial and Greenwood. And I think he had bought Sancho, and we had Dan James then as well. What we needed then was a different type of striker. Yes, Martial was fortunately keeping fit that season, but he wanted a backup. Fair enough, right? But Ole had come in and changed the recruitment strategy slightly. What he wanted was young, hungry players who kind of wanted to come into United, know what United mean and prove it. And I feel like we should have gone out and got a young, hungry striker then. Yes, of course, the availability of the deal was just too good to say no to. But honestly, I feel like it pushed recruitment back a couple of years. And we ended up losing him in, I think, the second winter after he came in. And we ended up signing Wout Weghorst on loan. Honestly, 30-plus-year-old striker. He gave his all for the club, but he did not score as many goals as we wanted, right? So it didn't turn out well, and I feel like we pushed recruitment back by signing Ronaldo. Yes, of course, he was our top goal scorer. He was lethal in front of goal, which he is even today. But was it the right sporting decision? I don't think so. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come out post that and said it as well, right? It wasn't the right sporting decision. It was definitely the right emotional decision. The next player I want to talk about is Jadon Sancho. Where do I start with this guy? Honestly, it's been a whirlwind with him over the last few years. We chased him for 2 summers. Yes, of course, we needed a right winger. But honestly, after chasing him for 2 summers, getting him and then finding out that he prefers playing on the left is ridiculous, right? If you've chased him for 2 summers, you expect the recruiting department to kind of do that R&D about him and what his favorite position is, etc. And mind you, Mason Greenwood in that season was flourishing on the right wing. So I didn't get so much of the hue and cry, but I understand that you want some competition in that spot. And there was talk about, United not being able to replace David Beckham on the right wing since he kind of left United. And fair enough to a point, but the recruitment department was so useless that they figured out after signing him that the guy prefers playing on the left, the side where you wanted Marcus Rashford to make his own, and you had Dan James as backup for the left wing. So what that signing meant made no sense. You've gone out and paid Dortmund 75 million odd pounds. You've given him a contract of about 250,000 pounds a week. Only for him to compete with Marcus Rashford. At that point of time, he wasn't going to start over Rashford. And then he had his off-field issues as well. So when you sign a player, you expect like a report on everything about the player, right? What he's all about, how his off-field tactics are, what he does outside of training, how hard he trains. And you've had various managers have an issue with him, right? So again, questionable transfer. The next player I want to talk about is Mason Mount. Honestly, for the sake of everything sacred, I still don't understand this transfer till date. What the hell were they thinking when they signed him, right? I'll tell you why he was never going to be the right signing for United. Because his best position is Bruno Fernandes' position. And are you ever going to start Mount over Bruno Fernandes? You're not, right? So what the hell was the point in going out to Chelsea and paying 55, 60 odd million for someone who now we realize can barely stay fit and wasn't going to start anyway over Bruno? There's so much talk about him being the Eriksen replacement as such, but it's more like Eriksen has replaced him even without leaving because the guy can never stay fit. So what the hell was that signing all about? Okay, let's talk about United not being as active in the January transfer window as us fans and even Ruben Amorim would have liked. Frustrating, yes, of course, without a doubt. But if you look at it in hindsight and if you look at the long term, does it make sense? I think so, and I'll tell you why. Um, what United need is a proven number nine, a prolific striker. But was there one available at a decent price in the January window? I don't think so. What they don't need another youngster coming in. We've seen it with Hoyland and Xerxes. None of them are finished products, right? They're young, raw. They're not proven goal scorers, and United need a proven goal scorer right now. There's so much talk about Martestel coming into United and all of that. Yes, it was a market opportunity which we should have explored, and I think we did that. But did it add up? Now that I read about it and see all the news, I don't think so. What Bayern wanted was a loan free upfront for Matistel without an option to get him, which doesn't make sense, right? You're paying 5-10 million pounds or euros for developing a player and just sending him back in 4 months. That doesn't make sense, doesn't add up at all, right? I mean, you have to give an option to the club to buy if you're charging a loan fee. And what's strange is that Tottenham have gone out and agreed that with Bayern, right? Slightly strange on the negotiation part of Bayern Munich. But again, I think they paid a higher loan fee or something like that. But honestly, great market opportunity, but he would not have solved our goal scoring problems, in my opinion. You need someone like an Osimhen or Gyökeres or someone prolific, right? Or even someone like, I don't know, an Ollie Watkins who's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League. So I think it was a smart transfer. By the end of the window, I think all of us fans were just raging and saying, just get us any number nine. But honestly, I ask you guys, right? We've been through that path before, right? We've experienced this before. Desperation signing on deadline day, close to deadline day, for the sake of it. We've seen it with Edinson Cavani. We've seen it with I don't know, Wout Weghorst or Odion Ighalo. We all kind of saw how that ended up. None of them came in and scored 20 odd goals. We just got in another person for the sake of getting in another person. And I think that's one thing which the current regime has completely stopped doing. And I read Ruben Amorim's quotes recently as well, where he said that it is a risk, but it's a good risk to have, because otherwise you'd get someone in for the sake of it, and then probably be stuck with that person, or it would not make sense financially, and he would probably not solve your goal scoring issues anyway. So might as well save up on the PSR side, not make any stupid sporting decision, and go all out in the summer. So I kind of understand it now. I was a fan who was raging on deadline day as well, but after thinking about it with a cool head, it made more sense. Okay, let's talk about some of the positives right now. What does the future of Manchester United Football Club hold? Honestly, I think the current footballing structure definitely knows how to run a football club. The likes of Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox have done it very well in previous clubs that they've been part of. And honestly, I feel like if you're part of the old regime, I would have my doubts. I would be worried, but we're not, fortunately, right? Thank God for that. These guys are not to blame for the mess we are in today. They're just cleaning it up. And honestly, the deep hole that the old regime has kind of pushed us into, it'll take time. Frustrating, impatient, yes, 100%. But do I see light at the end of the tunnel? Honestly, I do. The likes of Berarda and Wilcox have proved it previously, and I have full faith in them to kind of do the right things and take the club out of this rabbit hole. These guys have hired one of the most promising young coaches who's considered to be at least one of the best from the next era of coaches coming through. They're signing players, young, hungry players who are ready to prove a point and, with the right physical attributes for the Premier League, and who can have an impact on the present and the future. They're signing players on their own terms right now. There's no more United tax that we would kind of pay for all signings in the past. If you look at it with the Ugarte deal with PSG, we stood our ground. With the deal with Lecce for Patrick Dogu recently, right? They wanted 40 million euros, but they did not get it. So again, we kind of stood our ground, and we're not giving out ridiculous wages when we sign a player. I think a friend told me that Matthijs de Ligt took a pay cut to leave Bayern and come to United. And we saw that with Patrick Dogu as well. He didn't take a pay cut, but the rise from his Lecce wage to his United wage is not that significant. I think he was earning about 7,000-8,000 pounds per week, and he's just gone up to about 40k per week, which again proves that we're not offering ridiculous wages, right? I mean, if you go back to Alexis Sanchez and whatnot, we were just throwing out money for the sake of it, and that's what's kind of pushed us back. And I think the main thing is they're not panic buying for the sake of it. We've seen it over numerous transfer windows in the past where we've just bought players for the sake of it, and then in a couple of months or a year or two, we don't know what to do with them, right? I think that's something we are completely abolishing, and that's great. So yes, all I can say is that it will take time. It will be a frustrating period. There will be a lot of ups and downs now, at least till the end of the season. Probably more downs than ups. But I guess us as United fans have to just be a little more patient. I mean, I know we've been saying that for like 10, 12 years, but the only difference is that we've got proper footballing people running the club right now. And I don't think it's even been a year that they've been in charge. And we've seen, yes, they've not got everything right. I don't think anyone's perfect, but they've got more rights than wrongs so far. So I do trust this footballing structure, and let's see what the future holds. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do let me know what you think about some of the facts that I've discussed in this video. Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like my videos.